What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. This is one of my favorite videos. It is when I get to see if I stayed true to my goals, and that is the February reading wrap up. Thank you so much for being here. Today is exactly March 1st because I did read all the way through the 28th and I finished all the books on the 28th that I wanted to finish. So I'm super excited about that. Thank you for being here. Now, if you are new here, my name is Jaya. Welcome. I talk about all things books here on this channel with random sprinklings here and there of travel, fashion, that type of thing. Today I am going to be doing the reading wrap up, as is already been stated and was also in the title. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, you're definitely in the right place. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. It's so exciting to have you. And I love building this bookish community with you guys. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, definitely consider sticking around and checking out some other videos as well. Without further ado though, let's jump into this video. This month for February, I did end up reading a total of 19 books. I actually ended up shocking myself with the number of books that I managed to get through because of the simple fact that I had a lot that happened this month in February. So just to give you guys an update, I don't know if you can just tell from my overall demeanor and from this channel, if you've been here before, I love the holidays. I live for the holidays. I love seasonal living. I love decorating the apartment and the house. I do struggle very hard from transitioning from winter to spring though, because winter and fall are my favorite times of the year. So there is that. Today's actually going to be spring cleaning kind of vibes. I'm going to be redoing the entire house. I'll definitely put all that deco up on a different video at some point, but I am super excited for that and just bringing in the freshness of spring and enjoying the upcoming holidays. Indian holidays are also really exciting around this time of year. I love Holi. I love celebrating with colors and just experiencing that joy. That was a major tangent. I don't even know where that came from, but the purpose of saying that was that February was really busy, which actually has nothing to do with spring. So I really don't know where that came from. But what I was trying to go, or where I was trying to go with that, was essentially the fact that in the month of February, it was Valentine's Day, which was a very busy weekend for us. I also had my brothers and their significant others come and stay with us. We did a full 4-day birthday week celebration, which was a ton of fun. We went to Universal Studios. We ended up going out to a bunch of restaurants. We had a chance to really spend some quality time with each other, go to the beach, and all such vibes. It was a great time. We had a lot of fun hanging out together. So really enjoyed that. But that was basically from February 5th all the way through the 9th. Then on the 14th, I did take that day off. We had Valentine's Day celebrations. If you're interested in seeing what we did for Valentine's Day and what we ended up exchanging, we being me and my husband, then definitely check out that Valentine's Day video. I will link it somewhere here at the end of this video so you guys can click onto that should you want to do so. And then also on the weekend of the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, I absolutely had to have my Galentine's weekends, have to spend time with my girlies. So we did a couple of really nice high tea places here. And then I also got to do some FaceTime calls and just long, 1 hour, 2 hour long calls with some of my best friends to just catch up, even though we're all across the United States at this point. So that was a ton of fun. And it's just been a crazy month, but it's been filled with joy, and it's also been filled with a ton of reading. So without further ado, let's jump into the books, shall we? The first book that I'm going to talk about is The Love of My Afterlife. This is the book that we read for my book club. I am part of a book club called the Overbooked Book Club. It is primarily on Facebook. If you're ever interested in checking this out, just find the group online. It is public access, so definitely click that intro button and that join button and your request will come through. Once we kind of vet, because unfortunately we have had a couple of scammers that have made it on, so we do vet everyone who applies to be a part of the group. Now, once you're cleared, you basically get to join our lovely online book club. And what we do is we post a poll once a month for everyone to decide what they want to read for the future month. I usually try to post the poll a week to 2 weeks before the end of the month so that everyone knows what they need to buy, what they need to read for the following month, and you have that solid 6-week gap. between when the poll goes live and the book is selected to actually reading and completing it for book club. So that's the nice thing about that particular book club. This particular book was the February pick, and it is by Kirsty Greenwood. This book was incredible. I giggled so hard. I felt all the feels with this book. I laughed, I cried, I just had such a good time reading this book. If you like books like that are written by Ashley Poston, for example, The 7-Year Slip, or, you know, The Dead Romantics, and then A Novel Love Story, like any of her books, or if you like magical realism in general, if you like any of those happy, like hug in a book kind of vibes, this is your book, guys. This was great. This was a solid 4.5-star read for me. It didn't quite hit the 5-star mark, but there's very, very, very few reasons why. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, after I finish reading all the books that I need to read, I'm in love with this book. This book is about a woman who has led a very quiet life up until this point. She has been bullied before as a child, and she's kind of like almost retreated into herself. And so she's not really known for going out or meeting people. Her best friend is literally the 80-year-old man who can't speak to her, who lives in her apartment complex that she helps take care of. She has a grumpy neighbor that she cannot handle or tolerate. She doesn't really have the closest relationship with her mom, who is constantly out and social and, you know, loves her daughter, but doesn't always have time for her daughter. And all of a sudden she's choking on a hamburger and she dies. She dies. She finds herself in the ever after lobby to meet Merritt, our afterlife therapist, who is helping her transition into death. Now, while she's up there, she's like, wait, there was clearly a mistake. I should not be here. Deals are struck, and she is shot back down to earth after meeting, quote unquote, the potential love of her life while she was in heaven for a brief second. Merritt then tells her, you have 10 days to meet the love of your life and get a kiss from him. You cannot tell him anything, and he will not recall your conversation that you had here. But if you can successfully make that happen, I will allow you to go back to Earth. So throughout the course of this book, you have multiple different romance tropes that are thrown at you. You have multiple different quirky situations that occur. You have Merritt doing some magic from up above, and you have our main character going through craziness on Earth. She pushes herself out of her comfort zone, and she has to partner up with her grumpy neighbor in order to find the man of her dreams, or the man of her afterlife. This book is hilarity in a book. This book is a hug in a book, and I just absolutely adored this book. Would strongly recommend. Okay, since we're going through, you know, the book club books, let's pull this one out next. Now, this is on my Nook, and my Nook is currently stacked underneath a bunch of other things, so it's taking me some time to pull it out. The book that we read for the other book club that I'm a part of, known as Paper and Glam, is actually One in a Millennial by Kate Kennedy. Now, this book, if you are interested in, you know, reading a book that has to do with the millennial ages. So basically this book is, I feel like, really targeted toward that age group of basically 82 through 96. If you were part of that generation, I think this book can be really fun for you. This book is a memoir written by Kate Kennedy, and she basically talks about how the millennial years shaped the millennials and who they are today, the, you know, joys and struggles that we faced throughout our growth, and how that helped us become the individuals we are now. It is partially her journey. It's also partially capsular in nature. So there's lots of pieces of this book that is divvied up to just really showcase, like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And then there's also pieces of it where she talks about her own emotional struggles and her experiences with certain things. I personally found it very hard to relate to this memoir. I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to love it, because I am a millennial. I'm a 91 baby, and so I'm like hardcore in the middle of that millennial trend. And some of the things she talked about really resonated with me. She talked about blogging culture. That was an excellent, excellent component of this memoir. That was a great chapter. I also really enjoyed the part where she talked about Beanie Babies and all that kind of stuff. and how those collector items have now become like retirement funds for some people. And so it was really interesting to read this book. I just think like her philosophies in terms of romance, relationships, and things like that, which is heavier at the beginning of the book, made it really difficult for me to jump in head first and love this book. So I really struggled with this book overall, but I do think it was enjoyable. And I do think there's a lot of things that are mentioned in this book that I think are very, very real to what happened in the 90s and the early 2000s, like early 90s and late 80s. And it does encapsulate a lot of what millennials have experienced. It also speaks very briefly on, you know, this idea that the economy has shifted completely from how it was originally to where it is now. It talks about dial-up internet and like seeing the internet explode and worldwide, you know, web become what it is. It's a very interesting book. And I think rereading it did make me realize just how many huge moments in life millennials have seen throughout the years. But I did overall, I think, not love this particular memoir as much as I hoped I would, just because I couldn't relate to some of her more personal experiences. But that being said, I think if you are a millennial and you're looking for a great book that just encapsulates everything you went through the years and how it's affected people, it is a fun book to read. I do think it's very targeted towards that audience. Okay, so that was One in a Millennial by Kate Kennedy. She also has a podcast, by the way, so she does actually do like podcasting and things like that. So I do think it would be an enjoyable thing to do. I'm so sorry about that. That was extremely rude. I just got a text message that I had to deal with real quick. But yes, it was absolutely entertaining. After that, I also happened to read one other book, which was Scythe and Sparrow. I had been waiting for this book to come out. Brynne Weaver has written the Ruinous Love trilogy, and this is the third and final installment of that series. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. It's just that compared to the other books in the series, it didn't quite stack up for me. So my rating on this book is also very, very hard hitting, because I was measuring it to the experience I had with Butcher and Blackbird. So for that reason, this is a 3.5, but I do still think it was a great book. If you're interested in seeing like more detailed thoughts on this book, I did do a full Ruinous Love trilogy review that will be coming out later this month. So definitely check that video out if you're interested. Okie pokey. So how did I read 19 books? We obviously just went through 3 books. Outside of those 3 books, every other book that I read was part of a series. So I did 2 major series, and I did end up actually doing series review videos for these series as well. One of them has already been posted. That was the Plated Prisoners series review. And then the other one will be coming out in March, and it's actually divided into 2 parts because I did go through the Addicted Calloway Sisters series, which is a total of 10 books, 5 books being dedicated to the Addicted series, and then 5 books being dedicated to the Calloway Sisters series. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail with any of these books, really just ratings and rankings, otherwise this video will be too long. But if you are interested in seeing those videos, I will definitely link the Plated Prisoner review down below, along with the Valentine's Day at the end of this video, so you have those options if you want to go check them out. And as far as the Addicted Calloway Sisters, that is going to be coming out later this month, so definitely keep your eyes out for that. Let's start with Plated Prisoners. So the Plated Prisoners series is basically following the story of Oren. Oren happens to be a young woman who is essentially in the clutches of King Midas. And the belief is she is a gilded pet of King Midas. Gilded meaning that she's gold, her skin is gold, her hair is gold, all these things are gold, and she's still living and moving and breathing. However, everything else Midas has touched has turned into solid gold. So she is the favored one, the prized one by King Midas, and she is kept as his prisoner, but she believes that she is being protected by him, and that is where this book starts. So this book is basically following the character of Oren through her journey of awakening and coming into herself, and her love story with her significant other, who is Slade. Slade kills. If you want a like character who's like Rhysand adjacent, or Bryce Athalar adjacent, or you know Xaden adjacent, then he's beautiful. He's a beautiful man, and he has a dragon. He has a dragon. He manifests a dragon. We're just gonna leave it there. That's all I have to say, right? That's all I have to say. Guild, slow build. 3. Glint, book number 2, also slow build. 3, but very important because it does set the stage for all the other secondary important plot characters, and also showcases Oren coming into the knowledge of just how much Midas has kept from her. Gleam, great book, emotionally heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching because Oren still has no powers, but she also wants her freedom, and it's about her and Midas and their beef and strife, and also her starting her journey on romance with Slade. Beautiful book. Still a 3 for me. Still a little bit slow. Glow looks into the idea of PTSD. You're really looking at Oren coming out of a horrible, horrible moment in her life and trying to come to terms with it. Forgiving herself for a lot of the things that she's gone through, processing a lot of the things that she's gone through. Very emotional book, very, very powerful book. Love Slade's behavior with her, love how patient he is with her, love how found family is really starting to be shown in this book. 4-star read. Gold. This is when it starts getting good, guys. This is when it starts getting good. Oren is on her own, Slade is on their own. They've been ripped apart. They are trying to figure shit out, and she is really coming into herself, her powers, and she is really growing as a character. Freaking loved this book. This is a solid 4.5-star read for me. It was great. It's probably one of my favorites. Final book in the series, we have Goldfinch. Now, Goldfinch is also a very powerful book, and a lot happens in this book. This is a very political book. Like, I would compare it to like ACOWAR, for example. Like, just a lot happening very, very fast. A lot of endings that are coming up, and a lot of things being tied together at the very end of the book. It was well written. It was very entertaining. It was a little too perfect and cliched for me, which is the only reason it was a 3.85. Overall, I would say this series was a solid 3.75, 3.85. Let's just round it up to a 4 series. The books are very, very in-depth. The settings are beautifully done. The characters are very well written, and you definitely feel Raven Kennedy's writing getting better throughout the course of the series. You really get to see all the characters being developed in detail. It was overall a very, very enjoyable book, and I would recommend that people read it. The only reason I have ranked it at 3.75 to 4 in that region is because I'm comparing it to series like Fourth Wing and A Court of Thorn and Roses. And I think when you're looking at ACOTAR, the fantasy in ACOTAR just hits a different level for me. I love those books, and I also love Throne of Glass. So I think because I love the Sarah J. Maas universes so much, this didn't quite stack to that, but I still think it was a great, great fantasy series, and I do think it's well worth reading. So would definitely recommend this series for those in the future. I just wish Oren's character developed her stride a little bit sooner. But I did enjoy watching her journey, even though it felt a little bit slow to me. Okay, then we have the Addicted series. So in this, it's 10 books again, and I'm doing in detailed review for this as well. It's going to be broken up into 2 parts. Like I mentioned, it'll be the Addicted series review and then the Calloway sister reviews. So please wait for that. That will come out with all the details. So I'm just going to run through this real quick. First book in the series is Addicted to You. Beautiful book. Introduces Lauren and Lily's characters. They are characters you love to hate because they are enabling each other. They are terrible influences on each other. She's a sex addict. He's an alcoholic. And at the end, they kind of have to face their demons and realize how much they love each other, and that being in love with each other doesn't necessarily mean enabling each other, but actually standing up to one another. So beautifully written book. 3-star. Then we have Ricochet. Ricochet, I think, was one of my favorites, even though it is a small little novella. It's basically following Lily's perspective more so than anything else, and you also see more of the found family vibes coming through this book. Just because I'm going to be throwing the names out there, I'm just going to say them all now. So there's 6 main characters that you're going to see throughout the course of this series, which is going to be Lauren Hale and Lily Calloway. That's one major couple. They are the middle children, if you will. Then you have Reich Meadows and Daisy Calloway. Daisy Calloway is the youngest sister. Reich Meadows is Lauren's older half-brother. Reich is 23, Daisy's 16 when they meet. So it is an age gap romance. Interesting vibes on that one. But definitely doesn't feel like pedophilia or anything like that, because they do wait until 18 before they make a move, and you've definitely seen them create a relationship with one another until they get to that point. The last and final couple in this series is Rose and Connor. They are my personal favorites. Rose is the eldest sister. She is Rose Calloway. She has one older sister, Poppy, but Poppy isn't really brought into the story too much. So as far as the Addicted series goes, Rose is the eldest from that perspective. And then you have Connor Cobalt, who is also the oldest in the guys, and he is also self-made billionaire genius. So fun character plays. Ricochet, Addicted to You are both really focusing on Lauren and Lily. The Addicted series in general, those 5 books really focus on that couple in particular because they are the ones with the addictions and they are the ones that are overcoming the addictions and fighting for love and family instead. Beautifully written books. Ricochet is really focusing on Lily and her trying to curb her addiction and really focuses on her conviction to stay true to Lauren, even though he's in rehab. Very, very beautifully written book, very emotional. Really enjoyed this one. Solid 3.85 stars. Then we have Addicted for Now. I loved this book as well. This one is when things start getting real. Things actually get revealed in this book at the end, and everything is now, you know, released into the world, and they have to deal with the aftermaths of what happens in this book, and everyone is kind of impacted. This one I think was one of my favorites in the Addicted series. I ended up giving this book a 4. Then we have the first 2 books of the Calloway Sisters series. So you have Kiss the Sky, which is following the story of Rose and Connor, and a reality show that they agree to film in order to build the family name of the Calloways so that their Rose's couture line ends up getting some traction, and also to help her father's company Fizzle, who is a leading brand in the soda industry, like a Coke or a Pepsi. And so she's basically trying to reinstate their family name through this reality TV show, because she's thinking like, oh, you can get to know all of us a little bit better. And they film a show called Princess of Philly. Very interesting book. A lot of things happen. I love this couple. This is probably my favorite couple in the whole series. And so therefore this was a solid 4.5 stars for me. Then we have Hot House Flower. Hot House Flower it's good. It's following Daisy and Reich. It's the first installment in their romance. She is 18 at this point, so this is 2 years forward in the timeline as well. Reich is also 25. It's an interesting book. I have my thoughts on this couple. I don't have an issue with them as a couple. I don't have an issue with them as people per se. I have an issue with the fact that they're consistently referred to as mature, and I find them extremely immature. But that being said, it was still a fun book to read, and it was nice to see their emotional baggage and them overcoming it slowly, as well as learning to trust in others and themselves. So that was an enjoyable aspect of this book. This was a 3-star read for me. Then we have, after that, the next 2 books in the Addicted series. We have Thrive, and we have Addicted After All. Thrive is basically Lily and Lauren's perspective of everything that happens in Kiss the Sky and Hot House Flower. So in Kiss the Sky, you're really getting more of Rose and Connor's viewpoints, even though you're seeing all the other events that are taking place. And it briefly hints at what the other characters are going through, but still mostly focusing on Rose and Connor's reactions. And then Hot House Flower is primarily on Reich and Daisy's reactions. So Thrive really gives you the perspective of what Lauren and Lily went through the course of all of this. And there's a lot of craziness that happens. And it's quite impressive, actually, that these 2 addicts were able to stay away from their addictions and just how much they've learned to grow and depend on one another. And, you know, the found family is so strong in this book. This one was fun. It's basically a timeline capsule. It's more of a novella than anything else. You don't have to read this book, but I do encourage reading it. It was a fun read overall, and this was a 4-star read for me. Then we have Addicted After All. This one was also really entertaining. This is basically, again, fast forwarded in their life. We're now looking at, you know, people being older, you know, starting families and coming into themselves, stepping into roles in businesses and things like that, like really accepting their adulthood life. And it was fun to see these characters who were so damaged get to that point and grow at that level. So that was really beautiful to see. I really enjoyed this book. This was also 4.5 stars for me. Then we have Fuel the Fire. This is Rose and Connor's viewpoints again. This is fast forwarded into the future. At this point, they're married, they have a kid. There's a lot of other things going on. There's a lot of things that are released into, you know, the media that really could negatively impact both Rose and Connor. There's a lot of family drama that's going on as well. And there's also the fact that they're reeling from what happened with the reality TV show, and now Connor is on a mission to get his rights back and to bury the man who screwed them over in Kiss the Sky. This was a fun read. I really enjoyed this one as well. I just love Connor and Rose. They're my favorite couple, and so this was also a solid 4.5-star read for me. I loved it. I would say Rose and Connor, Lily and Lauren are like head and head for me because I love the depth of those characters. Reich and Daisy, they're great characters. They're not poorly written characters. They're very, very important, I guess, to the storyline in their own ways. But I feel like of the 6 characters, I would have been fine without reading about the 2 of them, and I just couldn't relate to them as much. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they're still very powerful characters. Which brings us to Long Way Down. This is the second book in the Daisy and Reich romance story. So it is the 4th book in the Calloway Sister series. Oh yeah, Fuel the Fire was the 3rd book in the Calloway Sister series. And then we have Long Way Down, which is the 4th book in the Calloway Sister series. Now this book, again, is focused on Reich and Daisy. They go through so much in this book, like it could make anyone insane, right? And I fully appreciate all the crazy things that Daisy goes through in this book. It was intense. It was a lot. It's very emotional. It's just those 2 characters. I really struggled to relate to them. I still cried. I still felt all the feels. I still like enjoyed reading this book. It was also just for me a little bit predictable, which made it a little less fun. But I still think it was a great read, and I would still encourage reading the Daisy and Reich books because I know a lot of people on the internet, they're their favorite couple. So would still encourage reading this book. And I do think that these 2 characters grow quite a bit too from where they start to where they are and really deal with their trauma. So that was fun to see. So this book, again, is a 3-star for me, but it's only because I don't relate to that couple as much, but still a wonderful read. Then last but not least, we have Some Kind of Perfect. This is the final book in the series. This is basically, in my head, a giant epilogue. It's basically following all the characters from the point that you left off in Long Way Down, so about 2018, all the way through 2034. And you're basically following all these characters through their journey in life, them becoming parents, them like growing in their careers, them figuring out like what love means to them, what family means to them, how to raise their kids when they have so much paparazzi and media surrounding them. Like very, very entertaining, very, very powerful book. I also love the kids, Charlie, Beckett, like Jane, and just all of them. I'm sorry, this is through 2033, not 2034, but this is just such a fun read, and this was probably my favorite. This was a solid 5-star read for me, but that is only because it was very emotional, and it was like the tie-up of all the characters, and I just loved seeing them as parents. I loved seeing their kids. I loved seeing, you know, how they navigated all these crazy situations, and the level of maturity that all of them reached by the end of the book was very, very fun for me. Still struggled with Daisy and Reich's characters in this. I'm sorry, guys, but I still loved this book overall. If you want more in-depth reviews of these books, then definitely check out the Addicted Sisters and the Calloway Sister review. I do say in the video when spoilers are going to start coming. So if you just want to see the first part to see my reaction and then my ratings, then definitely check that out. And then if you're interested in seeing why I feel the way I feel with some spoilers in there, if you've already read the series and you have thoughts as well, then definitely go ahead and finish those videos and leave me your comments below because I would love to know your thoughts. But that brings us to the conclusion of this video. So altogether, that was 19 books read in February, and I'm so excited about every single one of them. And for the most part, I really loved all of them. I think there was only one like real miss, which was One in a Millennial for me. And it wasn't that the book was bad. It was just that I didn't quite relate with everything emotional that the author was talking about. As far as the Scythe and Sparrow book, I wanted more out of that book, but I still loved that book. I wouldn't call it a miss. I would just say it was a mild hit. It wasn't a 6er, if you know what I mean. That's a cricket term. I'm sorry, guys. I'm Indian. I don't know what else to tell you. But that's about it. That's all I have to say. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and checking out what I read this month. If you have any comments that you want to leave below about how, you know, you've read some of these books, give me your thoughts. If you're inspired to read any of these books, then let me know. If you want more of these videos, then definitely let me know. I love making this bookish content for you guys and for me. It's also for me because now we have a community where we can talk all things books, and I freaking love it. That being said, if you're new here and you enjoyed this, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday, so if that's something you're interested in. and come on back and hang out with us. And for those of you that were returning, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here to support me. It's so special to build this bookish community, and I can't wait to continue growing it with you guys. Until next time, bye guys.